Welcome back, baseball fans, and back into shifting gears. We are into the 1979-1982 Fall League that runs from now through to Super Bowl weekend. And it's a shorter league that I do in the fall. Not as involved, not as intense, not as much data driven. And as our summer league, which is I put more time and energy into the summer league. This is sort of a fun little side league I do. I like to experiment with scheduling, roster, composition, drafting methodology, some different home field advantages, rules regarding the rotation, various things like that to kind of experiment with. And I do it in a timeline that is 8 years along from the summer league. So the summer league we just wrapped up was 1971 to 1974. We saw the Pittsburgh Pirates with basically their 71 club win that World Series, beating Detroit. And now we are 8 years theoretically in the future in this fall league. And there's a gap of cards as well of about 4 years. There's like 2 Olympiads between the 2 seasons. I like to think of it as that. And we got some sheets to look at here in an introduction to this. Let's get right into the schedule. I like to do that. Let me see here. So this is what the schedule looks like for your fall league. You play it's really all divisional. I want to experiment with what happens if you just concentrate a divisional schedule, playing your rivals over and over again more frequently, and only leave your division occasionally. So there's 7 series. 6 of the 7 against your division opponents, and they're all best of 5s. And in the middle of all that is a simple best of 4 across a division. Whereas you can split 4 games or win 3 games to 1 or 3 games to 0. If a team goes up 3 games to 0, I end that series because I don't want to see a team go up 4-0 or 0-4 because that would kind of put too much power into that round of the schedule when I really want to focus more on the division. So with that, we have our pitching rotations. And every series, basically the first game of a series, you play 4 days and you have a day off and play game 5. And then you pick up with the next series and 4 games off, 4 games a day off and then a game 5. 4 days a day off and a game 5. So it's pretty simple, cookie cutter schedule. Nothing too crazy. Easy to maintain. Fewer number of games, I would say about 60% of the number of games I play in the league. If you've been following along, we have had, here's the playlist for this league you can find on YouTube, 79-82 Fall League. When we did a draft earlier in the year, or in the off season, I uploaded these videos about the draft being underway. And we put a pause in this 6 months ago in February. So, tomorrow, we're going to upload the next 6 videos, all being loaded, a big marathon draft day of videos coming up on Friday. It's going to be videos, you'll see first and second round picks, third round, fourth, a random live pick when I'm picking on the clock to see how that process goes. The last rounds and the token round of the draft, which is like free agency or your undrafted free agent part of the draft. And then a summary as the league begins. Also, most importantly, we've already started playing games. So once the draft was done in the February months, I started to play some games, and so that I wouldn't have to play so many games in the fall. So we've already started to play, and we've got some standings here. The 79-82 timeline again. So Baltimore is still good. They would have gone into the 79 World Series. The Yankees would be represented in the 81 World Series. They're doing very well here. We got a very good Cleveland team playing good baseball. The Expos are playing good baseball in this timeline. Milwaukee Brewers, a really outstanding team in this timeline, as they have Robin Yount in 79 and 82. Went to the World Series in 82. They're a good team. And the Angels, 79 and 82 with Milwaukee. It's funny, they had good years in those years. Texas looks good. Seattle has had a horrendous start, by the way. I've never seen a team play this terribly before. 2 and 11. That's really sad. Sometimes that happens, I guess. Just incredibly bad luck. National League, you got your Phillies with your big 80 and 81 Mike Schmidt cards in play here. Reds, we all know that in 1981 they had the best record in baseball and they weren't invited to the playoffs. So, and in 79 they were very good. They clinched the National League West, so they have a good team. And there's the 79 Pirates, who 8 years apart, when you look at it, they have a chance to win both World Series because they won the 71-74 World Series. And this is the last time that the We Are Family Pirates will be getting together. Then you got the expansion teams playing pretty well, though. We've really loaded these guys up. So after years of these teams being dogs, we've really loaded at least some of them up with some good players. By the way, the Colorado Rockies are 1 and 12. How do you do that? I mean, you really got to swerve out of your lane to go 1 and 12. I'll tell you that. And then out west, the big Astro-Dodger rivalry in the late 70s, early 80s. You know, when they had Joe Niekro and J.R. Richard and Jose Cruz and Cedeno, and when the Dodgers had Dusty Baker and, you know, Steve Howe and Don Sutton and so forth. So the Astros and Dodgers rivalry is very hot right now. National League has played 127 games. American League 126. Pretty balanced. They don't play each other. That's why these records are... There's no interleague play in this schedule. And we can take a peek at the some of the rosters. I can go to that right now if anybody pops up that's of interesting note. But again, the draft results will be uploaded tomorrow, so you'll be able to check them out. So Baltimore did add Cal Ripken. His 82 card, he's going to play third base with Mark Belanger still playing shortstop. Boston's big acquisition, Wade Boggs. So Wade Boggs and Cal Ripken get into the league at the same time. And that's pretty cool for them. Yankees are doing peculiar things, building a roster. They have 3 starting left-handed pitchers, so they sent Guidry to the bullpen even though he's a starter 7 with Guidry and John. They got a 328 Dave Radar. They got Willie Wilson hitting 328. They sort of went into this process with money and used up all their draft tokens in a couple years in a row to take the talent away from other teams. Toronto, being so bad, they had the first pick in the draft, and their big news in the league is that they took Rod Carew in a trade. They got him away. So the Twins, instead of sending him to the Angels, we had the Twins sending him to the Blue Jays. Because the Angels are loaded. The Angels don't need Rod Carew. They got Ron Jackson playing first base. So Carew we sent to Toronto, and he's going to help this young team battle in the tough American League East. Expos are rolling it. They got the Gary Carters, the Cromarties. They got Al Oliver's 82 batting title for the Expos. I might have forgotten that. He's there 1 year. He wins a batting title for the Expos. Larry Parrish, Tim Raines, AAA Steeler. Good stuff happening with the Expos. High players have the great rotation as always. Norris, Andahar, Vida Blue, and Espinosa. Norris, 1980 card with Oakland is in play. Cleveland's playing great baseball. They got Burt Blyleven away from the Pirates. Jolton Joe Charbonneau's in town. The Hara Hassie Hargrove, the H's, Triple H there. So Cleveland's doing good stuff. Tigers, interesting team. In a few more years, they're going to win a World Series in '84. So obviously Whitaker and Tremmel are getting better. Not quite torrid yet. They're getting better. Lance Parrish, Ron LaFleur is getting old, as is Steve Kemp. Jack Morris is not quite at the height of his powers yet. He's getting there. Brewers just bash away. Just the true blue brew crew. Harvey's Wallbangers, they're in full play here. Cooper, Lescano, Molitor, Young, Ogilvy, they're all here. Gorman Thomas and his 45 home runs is here. Caldwell's still the ace of that team. Got the Twins here with Urbic. So Cal Ripken, Ken Urbic, and Wade Boggs all get into the league at the same time. Good luck picking a Rookie of the Year out of that trio. Jerry Koosman comes from the Mets to the Twins. White Sox have they have Oscar Gamble, but they got his Yankee card in '79, which is deadly. They found some nice guys. They got Harold Baines, best year thus far in '82. They took a very good Gary Renicky away from Baltimore, making him a full-time center fielder. I don't know why that dude was platooned. He's a 2-2 center fielder with 21 homers. Why would you platoon that? But that's what Baltimore did. Britt Burns. They had I think there was a Sports Illustrated cover of the big lefties, all lefties. It was Burns, it was Kravick, I believe it was Steve Trout, Rick Wortham, and I believe Ross Baumgarten. 5 left-handed starters on the team at one time. Right now we have 2 of those guys left, plus you have Lamar Hoyt from that '83, not quite '83 championship team. We're not in that timeline yet. We're getting close. That's next year. Kansas City's and kind of in between here. Brett's still around with a 390 card for 2 more years. As long as Brett hits 390, the Kansas City's in contending for a World Series. Larry Gurr, Leonard, most of the guys who were on that late '70s Kansas City team. The right-handed hitting Angels, led by Baylor to Sensei, Brian Downing, Dan Ford, Bobby Grich, and Ron Jackson hitting .333. Nolan Ryan's last year. We're going to have Ryan here for 1 more year, then we'll ship him to the Astros. Oakland, you got the great outfield, the young outfielders Henderson, Murphy, and Armas are in Oakland. And they also had some great starting pitching with McCaddy and Langford and Matt Keogh. Norris is on the Ohio team. Seattle's played poorly this year. Maybe their roster isn't constructed very well. Bruce Bochy. The All-Star Game was in Seattle 1979, and Bruce Bochy was the big star from their hometown team. Rupert Jones is a nice performance. Tom Paciorek gets straight 26. Unfortunately, they send a lot of these guys to the White Sox, but they send Paciorek and Julio Cruz to the White Sox and Floyd Bannister. They have Floyd Bannister, Gaylord Perry. Some nice players there. The Rangers, interesting team. They do have Bobby Bonds, Buddy Bell. Bobby Bonds and Buddy Bell. They got a nice Wally Backman card they took away. Mickey Rivers, Rusty Staub. That's some nice players there. Fergie Jenkins getting old in Texas after wearing out his welcome in Chicago. The Marlins, really insane. This team destroys left-handed pitching. I don't know what that'll get you in life because the league is mostly comprised of right-handed pitchers, but boy, Jeff Leonard, Bo Diaz, and Pedro Guerrero, those 3 guys might be the top 3 hitters in all of baseball versus left-handed pitching. They're all here. So look out, Steve Carlton. Maybe that was the point. That when the Marlins play the Phillies, they want to obliterate Steve Carlton. It's not a bad move. Atlanta, the launching pad. Burroughs is still there. Matthews. They got John Mayberry. He's sort of like a Fred McGriff type for this timeline for him. Dale Murphy. Looking for the long ball. Chicks dig the long ball in Atlanta. Phil Niekro is still there, of course. He'll be there forever. The Mets have this Joel Youngblood hitting .350 for him. John Stearns hitting .300 for him. Mazzilli's getting on base a ton. Huey Brooks destroys left-handed pitching. Steve Henderson gets on. This is a lot of offense for a Mets team who usually struggle for offense. We got Craig Swan on the top of his game. Nobody wanted Frank Tanana, so he showed up on the Mets staff, and they said, oh, come here. Nobody else wants you, Frank. So they got Frank Tanana and Craig Swan. Here's the Phillies, expected to contend for the World Series with the big names are all in place. Maddox, McBride, Keith Moreland, and Lonnie Smith, and Pete Rose, and Mike Schmidt. All these guys hit like .330. Rose did. Smith did. Moreland hit .320 something. McBride at .316, I believe. There's lefty. Oh, they took Eric Schall away from the Padres. That helps a whole lot. That's highway robber right there. This is what a championship team does to an also-ran Padre team. They steal Eric Schall. Cubs, I don't know what the heck they're doing. They're just putting fannies in the seats. You got a batting champion, Bill Buckner. You got a home run champion in Dave Kingman. You got a nice young catcher in Jody Davis. Jose Cardinal's about 60 years old, playing the outfield with creaky knees. You got Bobby Mercer back in town. Yeah, and don't know what quite to make out of the Cubs. Here's the Big Red Machine. They're running it back with Bench and Concepcion and Foster and Griffey. They stole Lee Lacy. Should have been on the Pirates. Reds got him. So he was a free agent. They outbid him. So Lee Lacy goes to the Reds instead of the Pirates. Ooh. That's a burn. Burn! They just burnt the Pirates with that one. Reds had to do that because the Pirates won the 79 series. And the Reds lost the league championship series. They were swept by the Pirates. So burn! Get Lee Lacy away from the Pirates. Seaver and Soto will be at the top of the Red rotation for about 5 years here. Here are the Pirates coming up next. Usual suspects, some new guys. Al Woods, a 300 hitter they got from the Toronto Blue Jays. They got a Bud Harrelson late in his career with a 400 on base percentage for the Rangers, trying to get some walks to this Pirate team. Cardinals, they like to steal bases, bunch of switch hitters, bunch of left-handed hitters. Lou Brock's final year. 79 was one of Brock's best offensive years, actually. Keith Hernandez, MVP year for him. You got Dane Orge hitting 327. You got Willie McGee. You got Ted Simmons and Gary Templeton, and still doing good stuff. So Gary Templeton's still here, and Ozzie Smith's still in San Diego. No name, John Fulgham was actually a very good pitcher. Kind of fell under the radar. Had 2 very nice years leading that staff. Now we get into the expansion. Arizona Diamondbacks. Darryl Porter with his big year. Ryan Sandberg. Got some nice names. Remember I was telling you about trying to make these expansion teams good? Look, Ellis Valentine. You know, these are good players taken away from other teams. Fernando. So that right there, they took Fernando away from the Dodgers. You know, he's still in the southwest of the, with plenty of support out in there in Arizona. So, yeah, he's still out in that National League West. And they got 25-game winner Steve Stone away from Baltimore. So look at that. Those 2 guys, man. Colorado is just awful. I don't know. It's all based on home runs and they're just not hitting them. This is the Blue Monday card of Rick Monday that knocked the Expos out of the playoffs in 1981. Hobson's got like 30 homers with this card. And yeah, whatever. Vegas playing good baseball. They got some good names here. They got Winfield. They got a Hall of Famer. Vegas. They get a lot of former Yankees or future. They got Willie Randolph and Winfield here. They got Carney Lansford. They got Chris Chambliss here. This is some good baseball players that showed up in Las Vegas. Maybe the idea was, that Las Vegas had a lot of money to throw around, perhaps. That's a theory. Yeah, and that's kind of how they lured these traditional MLB teams away from their teams. Look at that nice pitching. Portland, they're playing good baseball. They got Bob Horner stolen from the Braves. They got Chet Lemon stolen from the White Sox. A nice year out of Clint Hurley at 330. Terry Poole stolen from the Astros. Good players. Jerry Roy stolen from the Dodgers. So you're seeing these expansion teams really get some nice pieces finally and be more competitive in the carryover league. Love the Astros in this timeline with Cedeno and Cruz. Dave Collins they got from the Reds. Bill Duran. They got Dickie Tuna-Thon, Denny Walling at 330. Bob Watson. They got plenty of offense, plenty of stolen bases. They got Junior Richards, magnificent 1980 when the poor man suffered a stroke shortly after the All-Star game and his career was cut down. But boy, prior to that, he was having his best year ever in 1980. Ken Force, Joe Niekro. They got Smith and Sambito, the best bullpen you can get. The Dodgers won the World Series a year ago with Baker and Say and Garvey. They stole Kirk Gibson from the Tigers. They have added, Bill Russell, Davey Lopes, Reggie Smith, great years. The same old pitchers coming back. Sutton, Sutcliffe, Bert Hooton, Bobby Castillo, Steve Howe. Padres, some good cards out of Broderick Perkins, Luis Salazar, extra player cards where they both hit over 330. They still got Ozzie Smith. They got Tony Gwynn, but his rookie card's not that great. He's only a 289 hitter. Takes him a year before he hits 300. Randy Jones, the old Randy Jones, winding it back one more year. This is not much of a good pitching staff, frankly. Giants, the last team to look at here. Yeah. Joe Morgan's back. He has a good 82 for them. Darrell Evans and Bob Nepper. Bob Nepper's got a great 81, Bob Nepper. And that's kind of like a abridged look at the players. But for more, check out tomorrow for the live draft results. You'll see what players were drafted and when and so forth. We're going to have 6 videos coming up on Friday in the morning. Every hour a new video will come up. And then on Saturday, the game of the week. We'll start the game of the week every Saturday through the Super Bowl. All right, thanks for checking out this 1979-1982 preview. We'll see you next time.